YouTube stream. We are live, if you want to call
Okay.
us to order.
Today is December 17th, 2024. The Lawrence Board of Zoning Appeals is called to order at this time. A motion and a second for the approval of the minutes from November 19th, 2024.
I have an amendment to propose.
Okay?
Okay?
The minutes show 5 members present, but Shelley left early, so you see in the top of the minutes, 5 members present. Then you look at the vote, it's 3-1. And then unanimous, but unanimous is a 4 not a 5.
Okay,
I mean,
will fix
it's
that.
some clarification.
absolutely, not a problem.
And it's important because the rules are different for 4 members or 5 members.
Is that the only correction right now? Is that the only correction?
That's my correction.
Okay. So then,
And if you need a second, I'll add a second to that.
well, I need a motion for the approval of the minutes with that correction, and then a second. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Minutes stand as written. If you've not done so, please sign in at the back of the room, and anyone wishing to speak tonight, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Answer with I do. I do. Thank you. Do we have any special requests tonight, continuance, withdrawals, or waivers?
Yes, ma'am. Petition 24 LAP08 for 8935 East 46th Street, parcel 4003610, has requested continuation with notice to the January 21st, 2025 meeting. We do not need a vote. It is automatically continued.
Okay. Thank you, Renee. In front of you is a list of all the meetings scheduled for 2025. I need a motion and a second to approve that schedule.
I'll make a motion to approve the schedule for 2025.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Schedule stands
Thank you.
approved. Now we'll hear our first petition, which is 24 LSE 03, 4330 North Post Road, partial 4001284, 4001284, 4011466. Jaspin Realty LLC, represented by Mosey Dew.
Actually, Russell's going to represent.
Russell? Okay. You just took on a new name, right? Is requesting a special exception variance of the City of Indianapolis Consolidated Zoning Subdivision Ordinance to allow use with an SU1, Table 742-101-1 primary zoning districts, special use SU districts to MU, Table 742-01-1 primary zoning district, mixed use district, to allow for a complementary community-centric business model social enterprise.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Russell Brown. Business address is 320 North Meridian Street, Suite 1100 in Indianapolis, but as many of you know, a resident of the city of Lawrence for the last 20 years and Fort Bend for almost 5 now. So happy to have a meeting I can walk to. It's always fun to have a meeting I can walk to. With me tonight are Moise and Alex Duget, who are the brothers whose company, Jaspin Realty, seeks to acquire and redevelop the former Reset Center at 4330 North Post Road into, I'm going to butcher the name, but the Quisqueya Cultural Complex, a multifaceted community-serving building. As read into the record, the petitioners have referred to it as a community-centric business model social enterprise. We have submitted to you, and I just handed back out to you, a revised plan of operation that was within the staff report, but focuses on three core uses of the structure. The floor plan attached there is Exhibit A, shows those planned uses, and those really fit into three categories. First, it's home to existing businesses. Moise and Alex have relocated and consolidated their businesses into this building. They operate, among other things, a staffing company providing employment opportunities throughout the state of Indiana. They used to be located on the west side of town and have relocated here to the Lawrence area. So they will be owner occupants of a portion of the building. The second major kind of category of uses will be for community-focused organizations. Now, this is very similar, in our opinion, to the vision and efforts of the prior user, the Reset Center. The Haitian Association of Indiana will be an anchor tenant, first floor tenant in this building. The association has interest from other organizations to serve the underserved populations on the Far East Side, including healthcare providers who would be subtenants or have space on a regular basis in that area that the Haitian Association will be a tenant. The third tranche of users would be co-work, those utilizing as a co-working space. So if you're familiar with Cohatch, Big Car Cooperative, those types of uses, that would be the third kind of group of uses. That business model allows for the licensing of uses, use of common space, meeting space, offices, or it can be just as simple as a networking opportunity for those those seeking entrepreneurial kind of opportunities. I've worked with clients seeking co-working space opportunities in Broad Ripple, Westfield, Fountain Square, and other areas throughout the Indianapolis market. Moise and Alex, as individuals who have an entrepreneurial spirit, have sought to have a place where others with a similar interest and desire can build community and begin to grow their own businesses. We believe, the petitioners believe, that these three uses fit well into an area of the city which is seeing changes. The construction and the opening of the Purple Line has brought the implementation of the transit-oriented development overlay, which I know you had several petitions before you last month dealing with that very specific issue, along the Post Road corridor. That overlay encourages mixed use, non-auto-centric uses, and the creative reuse of underutilized space. The petitioners believe that this use here will check all of those boxes. Since I was brought into this case in late October, we've had several conversations with Mr. Keith Johnson regarding initial concerns regarding the very comprehensive business plan that Moise and Alex included in their original filing. As entrepreneurs do, they looked at 4330 and dreamt very big about a variety of things that could someday be a possibility, but that weren't in the short-term vision or need for the facility. As we talked through it, it became very clear that to be a successful member of the Lawrence community and add positively to the 42nd and Post neighborhood, the focus here needed to be a laser-focused one. As a result, you'll notice that there are a number of limitations in the business plan about items, including the use of the ballroom or the former sanctuary, limits on attendees at events on the site, limitations of outdoor activities. This property, as you know, is large. It's about between 5.5 and 6 acres in size, and it's improved with only about a 25,000 square foot structure. So it's got a lot of open space included in it, but with the existing on-site parking being somewhat limited, petitioners understood the sensitivity about allowing events which may be too large for the existing and immediately planned infrastructure. So the plan of operation limits attendees to no more than 200 total, less than the sanctuary would allow or would hold for religious service, which is permitted under the SU1 category today. The plan of operation provides that on-site uses will not include outdoor components, including limitations on the use of that unimproved outdoor area west of the building. There are hours limitations for events and requirement for security for any event which includes catering or alcohol service. The events will be focused on the three groups I talked about: co-working, community organization, the nonprofit organizations, or existing tenants. It will not be available as public event space for all comers, but instead it will support those community organizations allied and aligned with the nonprofit tenants or co-working members. We believe that these limitations are important recognition by the petitioners of these concerns about the sensitivity to the still changing nature of the corridor of our city. One of the other uses, one of the issues that existed when I was initially engaged in the case was to better understand the timing of upgrades and modifications planned by the petitioners. So we've incorporated into the plan of operation an estimated timetable for planned improvements. That's Exhibit B to the plan of operation. The interior renovations, which have been underway for some time, will require some effort to conclude given the concerns raised related to sprinkling or non-sprinkling of the building. An outside professional is being brought in to assist in seeking required waivers or approvals in order to address this need and further complete the renovations. The other improvements listed include items such as external improvements, landscaping, facade repairs, fencing for security purposes. Finally, two kind of bigger long-term projects: a community available kitchen and the expansion of the parking area. We have included target deadlines for those projects, and those deadlines assume that we have no significant delays in permits, material availability, et cetera. Finally, we have included in the plan of operation, which is Exhibit C, a conceptual landscape plan for the facade facing Post Road. This conceptual plan shows the facade improvements that the petitioners intend to make to refresh the look of the building, while also providing landscaping to make the facade and building have additional street appeal and welcoming to those potential co-working members and visitors or clients. So that's about 7 or 8 minutes of distilled down several months worth of work, dream planning, and imagining. Petitioners do firmly believe that this project will be a success at this location, as it brings opportunities to an area which has recently lacked many opportunities. It brings services and an opportunity for belonging to a community which desires to make and has already made Lawrence and the Far East Side their home. Post Road has seen investment through the Purple Line, and it sees hope through the continued demolition of Town and Terrace, which was in the news today, and the reimagining of the Oak Tree area, which many in this room have had lots of interaction with over the years. We believe that this use will be a positive player in that shifting narrative for this corridor. It's a mixed use, community and commerce focused player, and it plays well into the mixed use transit-oriented development located in the comp plan. The plan of operation, which the petitioners agree would be binding as a condition of your approval tonight, will allow for this use to appropriately interact with residential, religious, commercial, and other uses which are nearby, and allow for a reinvigoration of this nearly 60-year-old building. With that, we would incorporate our materials into the record, including our proposed findings of fact, ask for your favorable vote tonight, subject to the commitments included in the staff report and the plan of operation. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions the board has.
Okay, I have a few. This facility will not be for rent for outside, right? It will just be
Correct.
to those tenants that are there, correct?
Yeah. So so you have the co-working space, which is, essentially by a membership, you have opportunity and access to common space, to offices, boardrooms, those types of things. If you have that, you would have the ability to access the kind of ballroom area. The only real intended community events would be those that would be put on by like the Haitian Association. And those would be kind of community-focused events. We talk about health fairs, a job fair. They do English classes in there currently. So those types of things. And we have, but I couldn't go in and rent the ballroom for a wedding or for something like that. It would not be available for that, for the general public to come in and rent it.
So if the event, I like consistency. So if the event is over 100, then they would apply for a special event through the
Yeah.
city of Lawrence.
Yeah, that's not, I haven't figured out a way to file for an exemption for that yet. So, yes, that's the ordinance from the city, and we would comply with that, and we would be capped at 200 as a
There will be a
yeah,
cap
yeah,
at 200. Okay, and there would be police officers.
Yeah, if there's going to be catering or alcohol, we've committed to one security guard for every 50 guests, so.
Little history for the board is most of our event places, we've set up that they have followed the city of Lawrence ridding of their properties, correct, Tom?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm asking some.
And
of
I
these
think when you say security, it isn't necessarily Lawrence Police. It could be hired security. But does a license come through our police department?
For security?
No, for events, this event
The
license.
police department is part of the review process for any special event application. So all department heads get a copy of the application for their input on the special.
Including police.
Including police, yes, sir.
So if you go to 100, and I think I saw something in here that said that there were like 67 parking places or something?
Yeah.
Where are those additional cars going to park?
So we have provided that we have, Moise has worked with, you have two churches that are nearby. Lawrence Church of God is, I think, 2 properties to the south, and Turning Point is across the street and just there. 67 is actually, we can talk about it, have another conversation about it, but we think 67 is, we have at least 67 there. We don't think parking will be an issue because many of those who would typically attend will actually live in the vicinity and would probably walk or carpool or come together. So I don't think that 67 parking spots is an issue, even if you had 200 people. And 200, that assumes that 200 people there at the same time. If you had, for example, a job fair, not everybody's coming at the same time, or a health fair, not everybody would perhaps come at the same time. So that kind of come and go would allow for that turnover in parking.
And if you, so are you putting all these terms then in, I assume Haitian Association, everybody who's coming in there that's gonna have space is going to be entering a rental agreement?
Yes, you'll have rentals, you have leases for tenants, and then you would have, for the co-working, those are generally licenses, but it would be bound by, obviously, the terms of the plan of operation.
So is like the Haitian Association, will their lease contain a provision that says you cannot rent this space out for any purpose other than your own, and it will have to be, cannot exceed this number of people, or you have to get a special permit, all of that? Will that
Yeah, I
be
mean,
in
they'll
your
be bound by,
lease
they'll be
agreement?
bound by the plan of operation, just as the landowners are. So, yeah, that would be part of their lease terms,
And part of their what?
part of their lease terms.
Okay.
I had one additional question regarding the parking, because in the, it mentioned there would be additional parking spaces no later than December 2026. So how many more spaces are you looking to add?
I will ask Alex to come answer that question, because I don't.
100
or
plus.
Moise. That would have to go through permitting, so I don't know that, we haven't designed it yet. It's conceptual, so you'd have to still deal with drainage and, you know, those things. So we haven't designed it yet, so I would be guessing, but I could ask somebody else to guess instead of me.
So right now, we're envisioning,
He needs to state his
Yeah, so just give your name and your business address.
hello, I'm Alex Duge, 4330 North Post Road. What we're envisioning for parking, again, that's the future plan, is up to 200 additional parking spaces. So we have our contractor now looking at, you know, the plan for where exactly that needs to go. So that's why we're not committing to that number specifically, but that's the range that we're looking for, is around 200.
Okay, thank you.
So if you have 200 additional parking places, so that would give you a total of 267 parking places?
We're thinking 200 total,
200
including,
total,
so,
okay.
accounting for the ones that we already have.
Okay. And so are you anticipating having events that will go? Well, I guess if you have like something going on at the Haitian Association, something going on in the Dance Academy and all of that.
Right, so yeah, we're imagining that down the line, as we add more services, that need would be something that we need to address. And that's why we are planning in advance to be ready for that eventual future.
You made the comment of the churches, Turning Point, and there was another place.
Church of God.
Church of God.
Yeah.
Have you gone into commitments with them or have anything in writing that they will allow you to park there? Is there any
We've
written
had conversations,
commitments?
but, and I think we had plans to put that into writing, but that's not been done yet. But we've had conversations with both the pastors there already.
I have a question on the handicap parking. If you have an overflow of parking that goes across the street, will you be able to make sure parking in the primary lot, there's enough adequate for the handicap so they don't have to try to cross Post Road
Yes.
to
So
get to your location?
yeah, so the requirement to have security as part of our event is also a big factor into this because there's also someone that will be helping to manage the parking spaces.
Okay.
So that's part of the security requirement is that they also handle and manage the parking situation as well.
I want to go back to the parking question. I think you raised an excellent point. So let's say that the church is having something going on that night, and their parking lot is full. And they don't have, there's not, and that the Dance Academy and the Haitian Association and everybody over in the building is having something. So that takes me back to my original question is, where would people park?
Maurice Douget, 4330 North Post Road. With regards to the management of the space, we are working with a partner now. You guys can look it up. It's called Office R&D, and they are the one that service P30, for example. They use the same system to be able to manage schedules. So there is no point that we would have two medium-sized to large event going on at the same time in the building, which is why everything is a bookable resource, if you will. So when you lease space in the building, you have access to that system. When you are doing, if you're a member and you want to book a room or conference room, you would have access to that system to be able to do it. Now, obviously, everything will go on a scheduled basis, so there will not ever be two things going on at the same time that requires more parking spaces than we currently have. So everything we're doing is to effectively manage the space so that things like that doesn't happen, because obviously with noise levels that we're trying to keep down, we realize that we're in a residential community or neighborhood too. So those factors play a major part into how we going about this particular project. So we're very mindful of these things.
You've obviously put some good thought into this, and that's an excellent idea. And I'm assuming your management company or whomever is going to be looking at that to make sure that you don't have something happening.
Yes.
But how do you incorporate the events at the churches? Because they won't be part of that system.
The churches are part of the system.
They are going to be part of
Yes.
it?
We're talking offsite.
Oh, offside,
Yeah.
the other churches. Yeah,
Yeah.
so they will definitely get advance notice if there is a need for us to use their facilities. So those advance notice will go out. But we don't, this is more for, I would say, contingency plan, because of everything that Russell just go over, we don't envision doing more than we are capable of, given the space, given the limited parking that we have already. So we're very mindful of those things. Now, if it comes to it, obviously we would speak to Tim Harris, which is our point of contact at Turning Point, and Pastor next door to us. So we have great relationships. So we're able to communicate those changes as they happen well in advance, so that there is no disruption. That's really much all we can. But what we can anticipate going into a project like that. So everything we've done for the past 6 to 7 months to plan this is with all of those different aspects in mind, to be able to effectively manage the place where it's not disruptive to the neighborhood.
And I think, if I may add to, because there's a requirement that we submit a petition to the city to approve any events above 100. So we too have to factor in, hey, if we go above that, then that has to be part of that calculus as we make that proposal.
So would the city look at, if it goes over 100,
Right.
okay, they've got 67 parking spots, but some people could ride together, so the city would look at that 200, would they then factor in that there's not enough parking, and that, how would that,
We look at that when we're reviewing a special event application, the space that's available, the parking that's available. And if they were gonna have 200 people, we'd ask for something saying that they talk to the Church of God, or that they
have
talk
something in
to-
writing?
Something in writing saying that their overflow would be able to park there. That would be part of our review.
I will also just say, I mean, philosophically, by ordinance, the fact that they're located within a few hundred feet of a bus rapid transit stop gives them a huge amount of credit. So by ordinance, we are exceeding, we're exceeding our obligations by ordinance from a development standards perspective. So I want to make sure that that's, we're talking hypotheticals and what ifs, and that's part of your job, and I appreciate that that's what you're doing. But by ordinance, one of the things that in other places within the city where the transit overlay district is a little more well-established, I'm actually fighting for exceeding parking maximums instead of dealing with minimums, because there are parking maximums for a green space development. I have a maximum number of parking spots that a petitioner can construct on site, especially this close. I mean, they're literally a few hundred feet from a bus rapid transit stop. So, and those are things, I understand we're here talking about the very nuts and bolts of it, but just from an ordinance perspective, that's the new normal along Post Road in the city of Lawrence and along a lot of other places as we move through them.
And that is because it's a transit overlay. We ran into that last week, and we're not sure, at least I'm not sure I understand it. The overlay, will you fulfill the requirements of the overlay? Because it wants the buildings
Yeah, so,
up to the sidewalk.
so that's for new
But
development.
you have an existing building.
Yeah, so for new development, we don't have to turn around and, build to line and those types of things. I think it's important just to understand that that's part of the calculation when we go in looking at what parking numbers look like. I mean, we get offsets because we're that close to the purple line stop.
And because they want to use the purple line in transit, there's less parking requirement, is what you're
Correct,
saying.
correct. And
By
so-
ordinance, by the new
By
overlay.
ordinance, yeah, so now I would have to come and ask for a variance if I want more parking, and so, which you guys have never seen anybody come in here and ask for
No.
more parking.
Oh, my gosh.
So, is staff gonna address that?
Yeah. Okay, so will you commit to the project line here? Will they commit to the one that you have on the, yes?
It's part of the plan of operations, so that's intended to be a commitment, yes, ma'am.
And the commitments that the city of Lawrence has put on here?
Yes. We're in agreement with them.
And they are going to apply for a variance to not put an automatic sprinkler system in there?
That is, as I mentioned in my case in chief, that's someone smarter than me that's working on that, but they have retained someone to assist in that process.
Why wouldn't
yes.
they want a sprinkler system in there? Okay.
It's a very expensive, and I think as included in the plan of operation, the initial is they understand when they do a community, if and when you ever had a kitchen, on-site kitchen as part of their project, that would necessitate the sprinkling at that point. So it is more of a timing issue. Obviously, there's a grandfathering issue in place there because it's a 1965 building. And it's been used religiously previously. But we will be applying for that, and if that's not obtained, then there will be a business decision about whether to move forward with the project or not. But that's currently the plan, is to apply for that variance.
Speaking of the kitchen, is there going to be a pop-up? Is that like just the kitchen where you come in and you cook and then you take the food away from the building? Or will there be a pop-up dining experience included in that part?
I'll let Royce comment.
I will honestly say that my view of that is that would probably require us, if it's not for co-working, for tenants, or for the nonprofits, it probably requires us to come back and have a modification of the plan of operation, if and when that happens. But we included it in there because it is in the kind of the near-term plans.
So then if someone wants to use the kitchen and they don't have to be,
It would have to be one of those three, because that's all we're allowing for utilization of the space. They'd have to be a co-tenant, they would have to be a tenant of the space, or they would have to be a community organization, one of the nonprofit organizations that's a tenant in the building.
so I guess then the question is, are they renting out the kitchen? I come in, I pay so much a month so I have access to it and then become a tenant?
So, say my name again?
No.
So the idea here, and I think we've included some of the language for the commercial kitchen in the business plan as to the purpose of it, is to be able to serve small businesses who we are trying to attract to become members of the space, small restaurants, businesses. So again, the idea is to be cost efficient, cost effective on their end. If you're a startup business and you're looking for a space, you're looking for something to be able to use and not overspend, or not having to go lease a space that already has a commercial kitchen for you to be able to function, then that's what we ultimately want to provide to small businesses and folks who are in the business of making food. And again, going back to the membership, for us to be able to manage the access of that facility. So everything really will boil down to the membership, but with the commercial kitchen, the idea here is to attract folks who are in the business of making food, for them to be able to do it efficiently. So that's really the idea of the commercial kitchen.
So are you going, I'm still somewhat confused, are you charging them a fee?
They would need to be a co-working member to have
Yes.
access to it. So that would be, they could be a member of the co-working space. That would be one of the benefits that they could
So they
avail of.
join the co-working space so that they can then use the commercial kitchen, which means then as one of the co-working, that's a tenant?
They're-
So then that means that they could use the space for serving meals and selling meals,
Well,
right?
if they did, they would have to adhere to that, the 100, if it's catered, it'd be a catered event, would be my read of that, so that it would need to then be, subject to your 100-person limit, or to the plan of it would have to have security. So I don't think anybody's gonna go to security to have a small, I would assume it's more things, you're looking at things, people who are serving food or selling food at a farmer's market.
Yeah, that's what I was just getting
you
ready
know,
to
so-
say.
So they would be for off-site sale and consumption.
Yes.
Right, and I know that is what most of it is, but there are also these pop-ups where they advertise and you come in and say, okay, for this weekend, Friday and Saturday night, we're having a chef's tasting table and, this type of thing. And so,
I do want to say that there was a point that I forgot to mention here. Every single time we're doing a social networking event, which is what I've always addressed, I don't like to use the word event because I'd assume that just anybody can just come in. So our membership, or for our members who wants to use the space to have maybe a birthday party for their kids or their family members, so those are gonna be reservation RSVP events so that we can control the guest list. At every time, we need to know, and we have to know who's accessing, who's coming into our space. So everything we're doing, aside from some of the health fairs or the public, what you say, the resource fairs that the Haitian Association of Indiana would do with partners like the health department that we've done this with in the past, or Eskenazi, we've done those sort of with along the past, and Leonce is here too. He's also the executive director of the Haitian Association of Indiana. So he's here primarily to hear everything that you guys are saying on this panel. But at the same time, what we want to be mindful of is everything that's going to be done inside this facility is going to be managed through guest list, specifically on the membership side. And the nonprofit side, that's more for community consumption, which is gonna go through the Haitian Association of Indiana.
Okay, next, speak into the mic, because we can't.
They can't hear you on
Oh, I'm
YouTube.
sorry, I'm sorry.
Um,
Do I have to repeat everything?
No, just if you'll start.
Now, my
Okay.
good question is, you talked about these what was it? Co-working space.
Yes.
Is there gonna be a limit to that? Or, I mean, can there be 100, or is there gonna be 10? I mean,
So the way co-working spaces generally work is you can license a specific office. I can go in, like the Jaeger building's office suites up here, those are licenses. They have a co-working capacity to it, but most of it is office space. You can license a specific office. So this is my office, it's suite whatever at whatever building. Or you can have a membership that allows you to access to things like the boardrooms, to meeting space, to training, to any sort of professional development that's offered on site. And those are different levels. So you could be at the minimum level, which is just as kind of the opportunity to utilize the boardroom once a month. And that could be X amount. Or I could have an office and then I have 5 uses of the board meeting a month. And so those are varying levels. To what Moise indicated, the reality is those are all scheduled. So you'll not have a situation where there's 10 people who want to use the boardroom because it's a scheduled opportunity. They know I have one time a month that I can utilize it. Once I use it, then I can't utilize it till the next month, so I'm not going to be there utilizing the boardroom. But if there's a professional development, you'd have to, register, be there, and then utilize it, attend that meeting. So you wouldn't cap the number of members unless you would cap certain types of members. If you only got 5 offices to rent, you can't have more than 5 members who have a rental of an office as part of their membership. So those would be there'd be different levels of membership that would be part of it.
it's a new modern way of doing things.
It is. Not how you and I have worked, but it is.
Yeah.
I couldn't work that way, but many people can.
I've heard of stuff like
Yeah.
this, so I just want to make sure.
I'll just be curious, just in terms of the business model, because you're right, there's P30 is just a little north on Post Road, and then AMP Theater's doing it near downtown. So just curious how you're gonna set yours apart from the rest of them? I mean, just sustainability of this.
Well,
Step up to the mic.
I do want to say this project, this is not the concept is not, well, it's new, but the vision itself is not new. Being a part of the Haitian Association of Indiana for the past 5 years, going on 6 years now since I moved to Indianapolis or Indiana, the vision was always to build a community center. And obviously, I don't know if you guys are aware, there's a huge influx of Haitian population that all of a sudden making their way here to the States, to the state of Indiana, and a lot of them primarily here on the Far East side. So what has happened in the past, I'll say 3 to 4 years, is that we have managed to develop a lot of partnership with service providers. Service providers meaning the education department, the healthcare centers, and folks that has a heart for servicing immigrant population. So these folks have become our partners over the years, and these are the folks that has been working with us for the better part of the last few years here. So even most recently, we have a health coalition that has about 60-something members of that health, including Eskenazi, including the health department, including community health, including IU Health, who's going to be in the building as well, Fairbanks University. So those are the partners that has reached out to us because they want to be a part of, they want to be able to service the Haitian community. And beyond that is the fact that we too are aware that we are in a greater community here that we need to support, specifically the Far East Side, where a lot of our people resides, but at the same time, this is where we want to be as well. So again, you ask what makes us different from a P30, for example. Our vision for what we're trying to establish here is different because we are primarily catering to a very different demographic than P30. Not to say that everybody's not welcome, but at the same time, our foundation is such that the reason why we even got into this is because we wanted to serve our community. So I think that's what separates us from not them and those guys. We're very much aware of them. We know them. Ethan and Mark over there at P30, those are guys that we have several meetings with. So we like what they're doing, and I go personally go to events all the time at P30 because I like that concept. And a lot of what they've done, that's what we're trying to emulate here with this project. So it's similar but very different in a way because it's a different approach, but it's the same thing because in some ways our community there are people who doesn't really know about this particular concept because it's a very close concept. It's not really open. It's not really public like that. So when you have something like that, this is not something we just came up with overnight, but this is something that we've thought about for years. We're just now finding the right footing to be able to execute on it.
Right. Well, I was glad that you clarified it's not limited just to the Haitian population.
No, not at all.
Thank you.
Okay.
Russ, I'm not sure I understood the sprinkler system, what you said. The state fire marshal determines if you need a sprinkler system.
You
Is
could
that
ask,
not right?
you can ask for a waiver or a variance from that requirement. We currently have, I will say, I think we're way outside of the purview of the Board of Zoning Appeals at this point. But it's a condition that we have to follow through and either get a waiver or comply. So there's a waiver process, just like you can sometimes build a building that's more than 3 floors out of stick construction. There's a waiver process for that from the fire marshal, and that's the process that we will go through, that someone smarter than me will lead them through.
And you're saying if you don't get it, this project is not,
No, I said it will be a business decision.
say that again?
It would be a business decision whether to move forward
Oh,
or not.
no, okay, I thought you said,
No, I said it would be a business decision.
oh, okay, thank you.
Any other questions at this time?
I have a couple questions for staff.
Okay, thank you.
Mr.
Thank you,
Brown, it's
Russ.
good to see you.
Okay, we will hear from the remonstrators that are for or against the petition. Is there anyone here? With there not being anybody, we will now hear from the city of Lawrence. Keith?
Hi,
Hi.
thank you. Good evening, great to be here. To the two new members who I haven't had a chance to speak in front of. I had the opportunity to do this over a decade ago, and recently Mayor Whitfield asked me to play this role. I get to serve as her Economic Development Director, so it's a pleasure to be here in front of you. And I've had some time to meet with these gentlemen, and so I want to welcome these young entrepreneurs to our city and for the community and the new neighbors they represent. So, you know, my first question was, why'd you guys buy a church? What are you doing? What is it? So, you know, it's a vacant church. For many years, it had been operating not as that. And so in their minds and in the prior use was many other things. And so, all right, so there's an existing building. And I was like, are you open to other things? And so I would see this as part one. I would see this as the chance for these entrepreneurs and the association and a few businesses to get up and running and to generate some revenue. And we've talked about housing and townhomes as what we could see around the property in the back. And so you asked all the questions that I went through with them. And so the biggest commitment we felt was, you know, nighttime, late night use. And so that 9 o'clock commitment is what we felt best, safest, most grateful for in terms of negotiating that with the gentleman and the use. So that's probably the number one commitment. The rest of it reflects similar. The rest of the plan operations basically was each of those things was a negotiated process with them. And so we are here in support and to welcome new neighbors and new business model and to see how it goes and to pursue further mixed use and potential residential use at the space with them, which of course we'd have to come back either here or to get a rezone. So that's the gist
Did
of
I
my
hear
support.
townhouses?
Yeah. I mean, you look all around, and it's
Are you
apartments,
saying, where would
townhomes.
that go?
In the back, or potentially around, or financing could, you know, renovate, demo part of this building.
Right, but you would have to come back to us for that.
Absolutely.
Right, well, that's
Yeah.
not.
That's not what we're here
that's-
tonight. I just mean,
That's in the
I see this as.
I picked up
Yeah,
on that.
this is what would you do if you bought a church, if you wanted to, what would you do in it? And so a lot of this event use talk is because there's a sanctuary.
Right.
It's there, and so what's a good use for that space?
I
And
got
it's like
married
you
in
could
that church.
you could carve it up into offices, you could do different things, you could turn it smaller offices, or you could use it as shared space. And so when you have a user who teaches English classes and does dance lessons and things like that, it's like, all right, makes perfect sense why you'd want to use that building for this purpose.
So this variance is set up so that it runs with the property, not the property owner, correct?
Good question.
It runs with the land, it runs with the land, but it is bound by the plan of operation. So if I wanted to, if Moise and Alex said, we're out of here, and I wanted to go and step in, I would have to comply with plan of operation or come back to the Board of Zoning Appeals and ask for a modification of the plan of operation. So I could operate it functionally the same way, but any modification to that would have to come back to this body.
Okay, so Keith, are you satisfied then that there are enough protections in there for parking? I'm not worried about these gentlemen. They obviously have a commitment to the community, both the Haitian community and the city of Lawrence and all that. And I sense, and looking at what they've prepared, they want to be good neighbors. But as we know, sometimes successors to properties are not always good neighbors. And since this is sitting right in the middle of a very heavy residential area, I'm just a little bit concerned about the parking. If someone doesn't want to, I mean, first of all, how are you gonna enforce?
So you hit a
That's-
great point. So we didn't want them to have 500 and 600 person events here. So I don't really want to encourage more parking there. I don't think you're ever gonna see me up here encouraging more parking unless we have structured parking and there's a garage and it's part of a dense development. So yes, this is Purple Line, this is neighbors walking, and if the parking lot is full, that should probably be the capacity of the event. And there probably
So then
shouldn't be
when
more
should we
people.
reduce it- Should we reduce it to less than 100? Just to make sure that we know so that the city knows everything going on.
If we walked in there, it's the size of this room, so I don't know that that's a big problem. Again, our concern is that people might be there at 1 a.m. midnight, and so
Yeah.
if there's 150 people in there, at 5 o'clock, I don't know that that's a.
Now, it is part of their business plan that they're going to add that other 100,
Yeah,
have 100 plus. They can't do everything at one time.
right.
Um,
And I
and
think
like-
they'll have to come back here to ask for that.
Yeah, and for me, that would be because residents are gonna be there, or because there's another office space. No, I mean, last month, we had it's like, we want more density, we want more residents on this corridor, on Post Road, on Pendleton Pike. We want good paying jobs and residents. And so, yeah, we wanna encourage Purple Line use and mass transit, and if if they can't have that many people there, because, that's all right.
So the transit is really saying that they don't need less parking because of them coming on buses. So
And,
technically,
we can go around, the area,
mhm,
the community they're looking to serve and represent lives here. So
Right,
literally
absolutely.
right around literally catty corner, literally right around the corner.
Yeah, but, and I mean, taking a big chunk of the building is a Haitian association. And so this particular residential area, if you were really gonna look at special exceptions, then you would say, all right, there's a big Haitian population that is gonna come over and utilize the association, so therefore we can promote walkability. Which is, as the gentleman admitted, most of the community lives on the far east side. So, I mean, I think that supporting the Haitian community is a fabulous thing. And I want to do that. I just want to make sure that the existing residents are going to have enough protection for if it comes to parking or if it comes to when somebody, if somebody else should buy the building. They're buying it on contract, and hopefully all goes well, and they are a big success. So I just want to make sure we have enough protections.
Thank you. Hi, Mayor.
Board, would you mind if the mayor says a few words?
No, please step up.
Please.
Good evening, Mayor Deb Whitfield, and you're in my county building, 5109 East 59th Street. The reason why I felt that I needed to come up to speak to the board is that I think this is a very important opportunity for us to be an inclusive, welcome city, and an opportunity for a heavy population area in our city that wants to build and nurture their culture. I will tell you that the first time I met with them, I had my inks, but the more and more that I understood what they were trying to do in that building, that it was very important to the culture and to the community there. It's not about us against them. It's about us being an inclusive city, and what can we do to be open to any type of new entrepreneurship in the city of Lawrence. I too had concerns about the parking. I think that that's something that we all talk about, and I think everything is done in stages. And I think that when it was the recess center and they had church there and we even had an event there a couple of times, parking was overflowed at that time. This is a company that understands that and is going to try to make the appropriate consideration and recommendation to acknowledge that. But it does take time for that to happen. I think that in the future, if you saw the plans, the building and the parking lot, and what they've done above and beyond to try to correct the parking issue is something that we should allow them the opportunity to do. So I just want to say, your questions are great. I had the same questions, and I think they fulfilled the answer to the questions, and I'm willing as a city to continue to work with them so that we can make sure that they feel welcome in our community. They're gonna help boost that area, because that area we need to make changes in ideology and safety. And so those are the things that they know that's important to this administration, and hopefully we'll continue to work with this administration on that. So I just wanted to make sure that you understood your questions are right on. We asked the same thing, and I think from my point of view and from what I've heard from them, they're willing to make any adjustment necessary. But this is a plan to start, and this is a variance in order for them to make the plan work that we need to help them with. So that's from the mayor's office directly.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor. So I think we're all agreed that welcoming the Haitian community is not an issue here. We all want that. I come from a family of immigrants myself. I was well aware of the Haitian Association before this petition came before us. So, but my question is just about the protections that are going to be extending to the residents. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Would it assist if the commitments that they're making were to run with the property owner rather than with the land, and then it would have to revert back, if they sold the property, to the religious use, and whoever purchased it would then have to come in and once again clear it with the city?
How do you feel about that kind of commitment?
We would commit that it would run with this owner only, subject to a subsequent owner coming and telling you how, making a presentation to the board to satisfy any parking concerns specifically.
So we're talking about that this variance will run to them only?
To this use by these owners.
Okay. I think that protects it well, yeah.
Satisfied with that commitment? Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions at this time? Okay.
So do we need to make a change in, not right, you-
I've offered it on the record. Hopefully my word's good.
yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you. Russ, do you have a rebuttal?
No, I'm Subject to the commitments that we offered, that the city asked for, and this additional commitment that we would run with this owner, we would request your approval tonight.
Okay. Board ready to vote?
Yep.
I'm going to try to make it short this time. We are going to be voting on '24 LSE -03 4330 North Post Road, partial 4001284, 4001284, and 4011466. I'm not going to read through the thing, but the petitioner has agreed to all four commitments the city has put in there. Now, we did add on 4, a variance from the state is required as per IFC 214-903.2.1.3 for an exception to the requirement for an automatic sprinkler system or install an automatic sprinkler system. Number 5, adhere to the plan of operation as submitted. And number 6, for this petition only for this use. That's what the board will be voting on at this time. You got it?
I do. I'm just waiting on you.
The board has unanimously granted your petition.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Welcome to the community. The board now will hear new business, 24 LAP-2, 9559 Pendleton Pike, partial 4046066, Irvington Group Incorporated by Daniel
Kozlowski.
is requesting affirmation of allowed use. In June of 2024, the Board of Zoning Appeals approved a variance of development standard and use to allow for a landscaping business in a C4 zone. C7 zoning is required for landscaping.
Yes. Thank you. Dan Kozlowski, 8721 Shetland Lane, Indianapolis, Indiana. Good evening, Board. This may seem a little bit like deja vu. You guys heard the presentation just a couple months ago, and so I don't want to go through that other than to refresh your memory. Our request was for landscaping operation and light manufacturing on this unusual site. Really, not much has changed with that, other than the fact that when we had initially applied, we had applied for the C7 zoning as well. The city and us, there was some miswriting or something, and we were under the assumption that it was already C7 zoning. That was incorrect. We had found that out, so in working with Renee, she had suggested this administrative variance, and so it was originally 24 LSV 02. I think our case is now 24 LAP 02, and what we're really looking for is a variance of use to C7 uses to allow us to do that same thing, the landscaping and the light manufacturing. And really, unless you have any questions, subject to your questions, that's all I've got for you, rather than to rehash what you've already heard on this wonderful Christmas week. So, subject to your
We're just trying questions. to tweak it a little bit, right?
That's right,
Okay.
that's
Just
right.
for a quick
Yeah.
explanation for the board. The zoning layer on Indy maps showed that this had a C7. And when he went to apply for the ILP for the structure, they said, oh, no, it's a misprint or a mislabel. And just for paperwork's sake, I wanted to make sure the board was clear that does not have a C7 zoning, but this is a C7 use. And we had voted for the use to be okay, for the gravel lot to be okay. I just wanted to have it on record what had happened and to make sure that we were still okay. So that is the explanation of why we're revisiting.
Purely administrative.
Yes, sir.
Really, yeah.
Purely administrative.
I have a question. What is meant by administrative approval? Is that provision under the zoning
It is.
ordinances, or
It
what
is.
is
It's
that?
part of our rules of procedure. It isn't a specific petition that things like this wouldn't require a whole petition and all of the documents that he required on the first one. It's just more informative and just asking for a vote for the record, to say that, yes, you intended to allow a landscaping use on this property.
Okay. Is there any remonstrators here for or against the petition? With there not being any, we'll hear from the city of Lawrence. Keith?
Hi, thank you. Renee summarized the rather technical nature of this. We can sidebar, get into administrative approval process, but as part of the law that sort of split and gave us, BZA rezoning power, we don't fully have administrative approval process clarified with the MDA, and that's something we're working on to
Yeah,
clarify.
that's what I wondered about
Yeah,
that, because there were
it's-
two of those cases where it came up with that, and I thought,
It was not covered in the recent statute
No.
change, so it's something we're working on. But here to support this. Simple. Thank you.
Thank you. Petitioner, you have anything else to add? Okay. Then the board will be voting on 24-LAP-2, 9559 Pendleton Pike. Request a very affirmation of allowed use. In June 2024, the BZA approved a variance of development standard and a use to allow for a landscaping business in a C4 zone. C7 zoning is required for landscaping.
It was a mistake.
The board has unanimously granted the administrative.
Thank you, board. Thank you,
Thank you.
staff. Have a good Christmas.
You too. New business, 24 LUV 09, 5355 North Post Road, partial 4043009, Smarty Pants Daycare Ministry by Teresha?
The president, I'm the vice president.
Okay. It's requested a variance of use to allow a daycare ministry in an industrial zone.
Yes. Hello. My name is Jasmine. Nice to meet you. I would like to, I've been in child care business for over 14 years, and I think that it would be a great idea to bring child care into the community of Lawrence, seeing that it has a high crucial need for quality child care.
Jasmine. Sorry. Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So I was saying that Smarty Pants Daycare Learning Academy will be a great asset in the community of Lawrence by addressing the critical need for high-quality childcare in the area. With limited options, reliable and safe childcare is essential for working families, and we are ready to provide a nurturing and educational environment where the children can thrive. Our facility is equipped with sprinkler systems already installed to ensure the highest level of safety. We have also proactively met with our neighbors, the local fire department, receiving their support and approval. With other organizations, we have partnered with local organizations. The fire department nearby, there's an autism school that's right there. We have also spoken with them, and we are partnering with them and Department of Social Services. All of them are willing to partner. We have had meetings with them, and we are just trying to provide additional resources to families in the area. We additionally take steps to prioritize safety, including installing a fence and barriers around the entire property to provide secure environments for the children to learn and play. These measurements will reflect our community and create as a safe, trust space for our families. Our vision for Smarty Pants Learning Academy goes beyond just children care. We aim to become a valuable partner in the community, supporting local families while focusing on learning and education, social development, real-world skills for children. And we are respectfully requesting to allow Smarty Pants to be a part of the community as a vital resource in the Lawrence community with a strong foundation.
I'm not sure I understand licensure. Are you, what is the path to quality levels?
Level 3.
So is that the highest, or?
Level 4 is the highest.
So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4, so you're 3/4 to the, and is that tied to capacity when you're 3? What does that mean?
Level 4 is the highest level, and that is basically that all the teachers in the facility has to have a CDA. So that comes with with the hiring process. Once you hire everybody, then you can get on the level 4.
But
But I'm
level
currently
3
on-
says you have the little potties and all that kind
Yeah,
of stuff.
have level potties, and then you have a curriculum, age-appropriate curriculum, and things of that nature.
Thank you.
And I'm already level 3, so I will automatically come to level 3 because my facility that I already have is on level 3. So they automatically put you on level 3.
Where's your other facility at?
2035 North Ritter Avenue.
Now, what are the hours of this operation?
It will be from 5 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Oh, so the photographs that are included in our packet, are these the proposed renderings
Yes.
for the facility?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm confused because it says half the building is occupied by Train, which is the HVAC company, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And looking at these photos, I don't see where Train would be located, because there's no room, there's no place for trucks and all.
Well, they
to go
have,
in and
we'll,
out.
we'll have half of the parking lot, and they'll have one half. So we'll put barriers on our half of the parking lot, and then, and their trucks, because I sat out there for like 2 to 3 hours to see how they operate, and their trucks only come on their side.
Okay, so the renderings that we have are just of your half of the building? They don't
Yes.
show us
No.
what Train looks like, or, and what do they do at that Train facility?
Really, they just have equipment, things like that. It's like, they don't have like no chemicals, or it's not like, it's just like a warehouse where
It's
equipment and they have a
parts.
store, parts store,
Parts.
yeah.
Where that people can go get parts for,
Not people.
no, not people,
general
businesses,
public.
not the general public,
Yeah.
that is correct.
Yeah, it's just HVAC contractors can go and get new units, replacement parts, those kind of things.
Oh,
It's a distribution,
Yeah.
Commercial.
yeah.
Now,
And your facility on Ritter, I am assuming, you have no problems at all right now with with zoning enforcement or the state or anything?
No, ma'am. I've been open there for 14 years.
you are licensed, so they would have to inspect you, right?
Yes.
That, okay. Now, I noticed in the pictures that there is no fencing around the playground, but I heard you
But it's
mention.
mandated by the state, you have to have fencing around it.
Well, just following through. But you say you're putting barriers in the parking lot. What kind?
Well, they have like, the parking barriers, we can get the,
Bollards,
I don't know what exactly
the poles,
yeah, correct name for it. but,
Okay.
Yep.
yeah, bollards.
And this would be a lockdown?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes, definitely. The doors automatically
Secure.
lock when you close, when you come in, they lock behind you.
sorry about that.
That's okay.
Lock all the children up.
Well,
So just to elaborate on so when you come in the building, is there a waiting room, or do you come in the building, you're right in?
So
where
no, it's, when you come in, it's one door. So what the parents will have a code to get
Right.
into the building. So when you first come in, it's an area where you first come in, and it's the door and then another door. Then you have to come into another door where it's a lobby and receptionist area.
And what's the
And
amount of children you would have there?
Approximately about 300.
Are you looking to go to the level 4?
Yes.
Have you decided which accreditation you want to go? Because I know NACI is recognized as as an international accreditation, though. Have you decided which route you want to go?
Yeah, I do want to go to level 4. It's just that, like I said, it's with the employees. Everybody has to have their credentials.
sure.
Yeah. So, yeah,
But it's
that is-
different accreditations.
that's-
Some
that-
do the NACI, some do, there's another level that's educational. There's different levels of accreditation, so that's just one that you sign up for.
The highest one?
Well, that's NACI.
I have a question on the pickup and drop-off with 300 students. Will you have security out there with the parking lot with kids running around and there's?
No, it's usually, one thing that does, they all don't get dropped off at one time.
Okay.
And it's, a lot of parking, it's just really in and out. Nobody really stays there, you know what I mean? So they come to the front door, the parents bring them to the front door. Now, if we have our transportation, as far as like when we pick up and drop off from school, it's a ratio that every child has to have. So with school agers, it's 1 to 20, so that they will have the person that's driving them on the bus, and they will have the person that greets them at the door to make sure that they get in there.
Okay.
the petition, you're listed your address as Manville, Texas? So you
That
aren't
is
from
correct.
here?
That's Teresta, not me. I'm Jasmine. Teresta,
Oh.
she lives in Manville, Texas.
So she's the owner?
She's the president. We're both owners, so she's the owner and I'm the owner, 50/50.
Now, are you buying this property or leasing it?
We are leasing it.
You're
We
leasing
have a
it,
10-year lease right now.
10-year lease.
And will the variance go to the property or to the petitioner?
That'll be up to you as a board.
By this application, it goes to the property.
The application at this time, yes, unless you specify as a commitment that you want it to the Smarty Pants group individually, it'll go with the property. So that's up to you as a board.
You should go with the business. Don't you agree?
With the business, yes.
Go to the petitioner.
I'm sorry, what's the,
You should just go to the petitioner and once the, yeah,
I think especially something specialized as childcare.
exactly, yes.
I guess it,
What if,
yeah.
what if we do decide to buy the building?
Excuse me?
What if we do decide to buy the building?
That wouldn't be a problem.
That wouldn't be a problem.
It's,
Okay.
somebody else couldn't come in and take over your lease and operate a childcare facility without coming before the board again.
Okay.
That's what they were asking.
Any other questions for her?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any remonstrators for or against the petition? With there not being any, we'll hear from the city of Lawrence. Keith?
Hi, thank you.
Hi.
Long time.
Here in support of this on behalf of the city. And then I have another hat as executive director of the Fort Harrison Reese Authority. And the board is fully in support of this too. Train basically moved out and wanted to keep it as storage. They didn't want to sell. They weren't looking to redo anything. So most everyone in the light industrial space wants the storage. And you know, they want some office in the storage. And so I don't know, this was a rather clever use, we thought, to make do with empty office space. And certainly we know that America has a high quality daycare, childcare crisis. And so we welcome a new provider to the community and ask for your support.
Okay, thank you.
I assume the reuse authority has approved this?
Yeah, yep,
Yes.
we discussed it, and there's actually, I can show you a map. There's some restrictions on some uses in a map, so we did a survey to double check to make sure this wasn't in the use, and so, yeah, yep, we discussed it,
So
debated,
they're
they
happy.
approved it. Yep,
It hardly looks like the original master plan.
yes, indeed. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Petitioner, do you have anything else to add?
So has she agreed that it goes with her rather than with the
Mhm.
property?
That's what we're gonna be voting on. She did, yeah, it's what we,
We make that decision.
yeah.
Thanks for that, we're fine, that makes sense. Yeah.
So, the board is going to vote on 24 LUV 09 5355 North Post Road, parcel 4043009. Smarty Pants Daycare Ministry is requesting a variance of use to allow daycare ministry in an industrial zone with the commitment of, for this petitioner only. The board has unanimously granted your petition. Welcome to the community. With no other